Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Reasonable Doubt, brought to you by the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association. I'm your host, Jimmy Ardwan, alongside my co-host, Julio Vela. What's going on, my friend?
March Madness.
Oh,
March
God.
Madness.
I don't even know what's going on with
March Madness.
I think I heard Northwestern won today or something like that.
I haven't kept up either, but on my bracket, I just forwarded the Vegas odds to our bracket, and I said, this is my bracket.
I just haven't kept up with the whole college basketball thing. I'm ashamed to say it, but I have not. The Horns were so bad this year, basketball, that I just have not kept up with it. But
Who says you, Vic?
Oh, the Horns were atrocious, but my brother went to Northwestern. They won today 68-66 versus Vanderbilt in their first ever trip to the tournament, so it's a good day. Good day for the Wildcats.
We got our good friend Vic Vidge back. This is like, what, the third time in the last month you've been here?
Something like that. Good to be back, Jimmy.
Yeah,
JV,
I mean, you're
good to see you, fellas.
I swear to God, you must not be able to, unlike Randy Travis, you can't find a better class of losers to hang out with.
I got friends.
So you keep coming hang out with us on Thursday
You guys are too much fun. Too much fun.
We try. It's going to be a fun show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of great topics to get to. We'll open up the phone lines around 8:30 for your questions and comments. 713-807-1794 is the number. As always, I've got Twitter up right here, so you can send us your questions and comments at HCCLA_TV, and we'll take them right here on the air. But before we get started with everything, my main man JV, you have a big announcement to make.
Dude, it's a huge announcement. So as you know, Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association puts on this weekly show. And while Jimmy and I have been a part of it frequently and regularly for the past maybe 3 to 4 years, and Vic is becoming a solid co-host and guest here on the show.
Always good to be here.
This program has gone through the decades, 20 plus years of providing a service and information to our communities, to the public, and used to impact for change. And there's been one person constantly behind the whole thing, and that is Mr. Mark Pirtle. Mark Pirtle, I'd like to tell you that on behalf of the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, we thank you for your service, and we nominated you, and you have been awarded the Torch of Liberty Award for this year. And for your humble service, we are eternally grateful.
Thank y'all for doing this.
And so we will honor you this year at our banquet for your service, for your dedication to our cause, and for your countless hours of dedication to what we as an organization stand for and Houston Media Source. So with that being said, Mark, the Torch of Liberty is yours this year, and it is well deserved.
It's big time, man.
Big time, man.
Of course, the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, as JV said, we put on an annual banquet every year. What is it, May?
It's in May.
Mid-May, something like that.
I think May 11th this year.
It's a good party time.
It is.
I will say this. Criminal lawyers know how to party.
We do.
Criminal defense lawyers know how to party.
I think it's at the Zaza.
Is that Zaza? I would Uber or take a cab there. Just saying.
I have rented out the dungeon room.
What's the dungeon room?
No, I don't know. Was I not supposed to say that? Yes, the dungeon room. No? You need a safety word to get in.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like
We're going way off the script, fellas.
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, man.
Geez. Oh, we already have a phone call coming in? We weren't even going to open up the lines till 8:30, but we got a call coming in. So I guess we'll take it. We haven't even gotten into the topics. Somebody wants to call in a reasonable doubt. Hello, thanks for calling.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
It's Rob Fickman.
Hey, man, what's going on?
I want to call and congratulate Mark Pirtle, my friend and yours, on his many years of service. Mark, congratulations. As a former host of the show and a past president of the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, I'm really proud that you're finally getting the recognition that you deserve. And we're all very grateful for everything that you've done, Mark, and look forward to the banquet where you will be presented with the award. You're a good man, Mark Pirtle. Anyway, we appreciate everything you've done. God bless you.
Thanks for the call, Rob. Appreciate it, Rob. And if you guys want to call in and congratulate Mark on his award, we'll open up the phone lines for that as well. But guys, let's jump into a couple topics here while we're waiting to see if the phones start lighting up. I want to get to this. Story this week out of San Antonio. The guy known as the DWI dude, lawyer known as the DWI dude, Jamie Bellagio, was arrested up in Dallas this week in the northern suburb of McKinney for basically a scheme to defraud his clients of over $1 million in promising to pay bribes in order to obtain a favorable result for his clients. Sounds eerily familiar to a case here in Houston, one of Abraham Fish, that coincidentally the appellate opinion was released this week by the Fifth Circuit affirming his conviction on similar charges of obtaining clients money to try and, tell them that people would be paid off and their cases would go away. It's cases like this, guys, that really give lawyers a bad name.
There's no doubt. We've all been to that cocktail party or that dinner where someone says, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a criminal defense attorney. How do you represent those people? We're already starting off behind the 8 ball, so to speak, because we are defending those people. And then we've got stories like this where Jamie's accused, and of course he's not been found guilty of anything, but Jamie's been accused of defrauding clients of over $1.2 million to bribe people to get his clients' cases dismissed. There's some startling allegations in there.
First, obviously, and this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Not guilty and innocent until and unless proven guilty. So I'd like to see how things shake out. Number two, I go so far as to suggest it might be Jaime instead of Jamie. It might be Jaime. Is it Jamie? Because I don't want to get that wrong.
I don't know.
But it might be Jaime.
It might be.
It's Jamie.
It's Jamie?
Yeah.
Well, okay. It's like Eddie Cortez with an S instead of a Z, right? I mean, something.
It's Jamie Giulio.
There you go.
Oh, this Jamie, I get it now. That's very good. However, we carry this bar card, and with the title of lawyer, we're able to have access to information that normal people don't have. We're able to have to obtain documents and things that would otherwise be illegal in the possession of somebody else, and we walk the line of being in the gray area all the time. Have you felt, what's your take?
But JV, not only that, not only do we have access to information that regular people have, that John Q. Public doesn't have, we have people's lives in our hands. We are held to a higher standard. We've got to be above board. We can't do stuff like that. We can't even be accused of bribery, things like that. We've got to be held to a higher standard because we are holding people's hands or people's lives in our hands. People trust us there with their loved ones, with their futures, with their families. It's disgusting.
I wonder if it goes so far as, well, so-and-so has a function that's coming up. I'll take this money and donate some money to their campaign. How does that, isn't that the same thing? Or is it not? And how is it different?
Well, I think it is slightly different, but the biggest problem here is just the thought or the image or the perception of impropriety. That's a problem, right? With Jamie's story, what I read, that there was no one who was actually bribed, but just the thought that the judicial system can be bought, that the judges, the prosecutors, the cops can be bought, is enough to cast doubt over the system. That's a problem.
Well, and the thing is, with regard to the way federal criminal law is constructed, you actually don't have to carry out the scheme. Just agreeing to, if it's a conspiracy case, there's a thing that we know about attempt. If you attempt to commit a crime, and with conspiracy law, and I haven't gotten a chance to pull, I think the case is actually still sealed, which leads me to believe there may be more people that have yet to be arrested. But if it's a conspiracy charge, the thing about conspiracy, you don't have to actually carry out what you intend to do. So if the three of us say we're going to agree to rob a bank, and we get everything together, and the only thing we fail to do is actually rob the bank, but people know and they find the text messages or they find the emails and everything else saying that we've plotted to rob the bank, that's enough.
Well,
that's enough to make a case of conspiracy.
And that was the question that I had, because I think the charge is conspiracy to commit money laundering.
Right.
And so when I read the conspiracy to commit money laundering, it's like what they were sitting around kind of talking about it, and then
Yeah, so all it takes is for there to be a conspiracy, you have to have 2 or more people who agree to commit this crime. And money laundering is basically taking the proceeds of criminal activity and, in the words of Judge Hughes, doing something with it. When you break it down simply, that's what money laundering is. It's taking the proceeds of the criminal activity. And so, here, he may have gotten the money from people, but having never made the bribe, it really hasn't taken on its full form because he never paid the bribe. But there's still that agreement to take the money and actually attempt to do something with it, or try, or at least give the appearance of that that's what he was going to do with the money. Obviously we don't know what the evidence is in the case, and I wonder to some degree if. So here, the other thing, backing up a bit, what is most striking to me is the fact the feds bring a case against a lawyer. That is something, they don't do that very often, and for very good reason. It's one thing, everybody says that the federal agencies and the attorney generals and the U.S. Attorney's Office, they only bring cases that they know they can win, and to some degree that's true because there is a lot more lead-up time. You have a whole investigation, and they're not going to bring a case they don't think they can win. They've usually investigated the thing for a long period of time by the time the person gets arrested. So, but even more striking here is it's a lawyer. And there is a whole process that you have to go up to Washington, and it has to be blessed by the powers that be before a lawyer can ever be charged by a federal prosecutor's office. So this isn't just something where a local prosecutor in the Eastern District of Texas, up in, I'm guessing, it says he was arrested in McKinney, so it could be in the Sherman or Tyler division. I don't know which. But this isn't somebody sitting at their desk saying, I'm going to go do this. No, they had to get several levels of approval before they could bring this case. So, obviously, as you say, innocent until proven guilty. But there's a lot, there must be some pretty strong evidence for them to get people to approve this kind of charge up in Washington, in my opinion.
You'd like to think that there was surveillance, wiretaps.
Oh, there probably was.
Snitches. And during the course of all those investigations, you'd imagine that one could argue that he was engaging in attorney-client conversations. And so I'm wondering if any fruits of that, could they be then used against
the clients?
Yes.
Well, that's going to be the interesting thing because, of course, one of the ways you can pierce the attorney-client privilege is the crime-fraud exception.
Right.
Where if the lawyer is actually actively engaged in help perpetrating a fraud with the client, then there is no attorney-client privilege. And so the question I would have in this case is, to what extent could the clients be complicit in the bribery allegation? If the client believes they are paying to, bribe somebody to get their case, over with and dismissed, to what extent does the government believe those clients are culpable in the conspiracy? I don't know. Well, I guess that remains to be seen, but it's a little bit different from the case we had here in Houston, which was of what I alluded to earlier, which was Abraham Fish. I believe that Bellagio had mostly a state court practice, DWIs, drug cases at the state level. Fish, his indictment dealt with taking it on federal cases, where he was promising to get in front of people with the DEA, with the CIA, to make federal cases go away. And so that was a whole nother deal entirely.
Do you think there's any difference, Vic, between, that's a softball. Of course there's a difference between bribing somebody or attempting to bribe somebody, or at the same token, fine, we won't bribe you or anything like that, but we're going to have all these fundraisers for you, and we're going to donate a bunch of money to you. And this weekend at Christian's Tailgate, it's an open bar tab to come support so and so.
There's a difference. There's absolutely a difference. One is a crime. Bribery is a crime.
Right.
Right. If I say, local prosecutor, local judge, I'm gonna give you thousands of dollars, and this case is gonna go away. That's a problem. That's a crime. That's a felony. Okay. On the other hand, if I say, hey, we're gonna host a fundraiser for you, it's not necessarily a crime, but you could be getting into some ethical gray areas. What if that lawyer practices in front of that judge? What if that lawyer has cases with that prosecutor? It puts both parties in a sticky scenario where I've given you thousands of dollars. Why are you ruling against me on this trial? Why are my objections going against me? Why did you rule against my motion to suppress?
Do you think that it does impact rulings?
Here's a naive answer. I hope it doesn't. I hope that justice is blind. But I would be very naive to actually think that. I think that money talks. And I think it's certainly got to weigh into the back of someone's mind, whether they intend to or not. Hey, this is, so-and-so lawyer that's hosted fundraisers for me or given thousands of dollars to my campaigns over the years. Maybe that factors in. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for someone else's mind, but it would be human nature to think that probably does, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the way that some of the stuff looks, but it's hard to say that how do you really prove it in some cases? Because, what if a judge gives somebody somebody's client deferred adjudication on a certain type of case, but doesn't give it to another similarly situated client, but it turns out that lawyer donated in the campaign? I mean, it's circumstantial, but did it really? I don't know.
I don't know.
Hard to tell the difference. And, I have this conversation with my clients sometimes or with their families. Hey, so-and-so's cellmate charged with the same thing as my son or my husband, and he got a different deal. And you always, you try to explain to people that cases are different. There's different judges, different prosecutors, different facts, different criminal histories. Every case is different. So you can't really compare case one to case two, even if they're both aggravated robbery. So there's so many factors. And I certainly don't want to create the impression that I'm accusing anyone of doing anything, but I just think that it's human nature that it might.
Yeah.
It just might.
Well, this is certainly a terrible case with Bellagio, at least in the outward appearance in the news reports, but let's watch it and see what happens. We got another call coming in. We're taking calls early tonight, so let's jump over. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Hello?
Yes.
Is this Reasonable Doubt?
It is.
Vic Finch was a client of mine back in the day.
I think you're getting some trolling.
I think so.
Somebody is trolling you.
Sounds like it.
Hey, is Mark around? Mark Purple?
He is.
I hear this guy is winning the award for HCCLA.
He is. He is around.
It's about doggone time.
Right?
Right? Back when I was on the show with Jimmy, he probably didn't know who I am, yeah. He's probably like, who is this guy?
What's up, Damon? You were doing a bad impersonation of one of Vic's clients.
I really was. My son Selby, he got his case dismissed.
Well, I'm just glad you're not impersonating the caller we had last week, because that was
I've
horrible.
Got 3 questions.
Yeah, exactly.
6. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Mark, congratulations, man. It's a long time coming.
Well, thanks for the call, Damon. I know he appreciates it.
Cool, guys. I'll see y'all next week.
All right, take it easy.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Is he coming on next week?
Him and Sarah Mueller.
Okay.
They switched
All right.
over. Coming on.
They were supposed to be, sorry, Vic.
I talked to Vic about it.
That's
Vic
okay.
came
I
through
knew that
strong.
was coming.
No, but we told you last time that you held yourself so strong that you coming on the
You're like our
reg.
throwdown guest.
Well, and he had
appreciate
huge
that.
ratings. This man had huge ratings.
Because you know
Can't
what he
explain
does? I caught it. I caught on. He goes on Facebook and he tells people, in his best Ron Burgundy Facebook voice, come hear me talk on TV tonight.
I said I'm going to talk good
Yeah,
words.
talk good words. That's right.
Good words.
Yeah. How now, brown cow? I want to talk about some of this legislative stuff that's going on up in Austin right now. The big one, of course, is the texting while driving bill that has been now put up for the 4th time, and it has actually passed the House. So now it goes to the Senate, and it's a statewide ban on texting while driving. Now, Julio, you were looking at it earlier, and it appears to be that it's going to be a Class C offense, so a non-arrestable offense, fine only. But guys, I mean, could this lead to? And I know we've had some cases where they have made out felony cases for texting while driving in a different context, but what does this do in terms of do you think this bill sets the stage for something else?
Jimmy, I do. I think if texting while driving is going to be a Class C offense, it's going to be like speeding or turning without a signal. It's going to lead to traffic stops. But is that going to be probable cause to pull somebody over to then search their car? Mm-hmm. The transportation code largely is in effect to justify reasons to stop people.
Yeah, I mean, how do you prove if you're in a car? How does the cop know for sure that you are texting while driving? I mean, as we were talking before the show, you could be on your map looking for a place to eat. You could be looking for a gas station. If the law is texting while driving, he pulls you over, and they say they can't take your phone. So what do? Do you mean show the phone and say, look, I wasn't texting?
Well, two things. Interestingly, the law specifically eliminates texting, emailing, surfing, but excludes or does not include calling. So one could be dialing a phone number on your
We
phone.
have a call. Speaking of calling.
And that would be an affirmative defense or a defense, not necessarily an affirmative defense because they have affirmative defenses, but that would be a defense in the event that you were stopped and charged with this. How is an officer going to know that you weren't making a phone call versus you weren't texting?
Yeah.
The finger gestures would be the same whether you're texting or typing in 713, typing in a phone number. How would the police officer ever know?
State Rep, this is a debate that's been going on. State Rep Gene Wu, Representative Gene Wu, Honorable Gene Wu, who's been here, and I'd like him to come back on and talk about it, has akined it to when an officer sees a person driving without a seatbelt and stops you, it's that obvious or it should be that clear to an officer who sees you and makes an allegation that you were texting while driving.
But how could it ever be that clear that you're texting?
Exactly. How could it ever?
How could it ever be that clear?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have go gadget eyes and can actually look and see. I mean, if the guy is in a giant pickup truck that's jacked up, and the cop car's down here, how the hell is he going to see it?
I have seen some officers with go gadget eyes.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how they get that.
And they he's going 48 and a 20.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like this. There's this one, I'll share a war story, and I guess we'll get to a caller. We're in trial, and this DPS trooper is testifying that he knows he was going 53 miles an hour based on his experience. And so my co-counsel, in the middle of his cross, it was so frustrated, this Daniel Cahill, crumbles up a piece of paper, throws it across the courtroom, and says, well, how fast was that going? It was awesome. We got objected to. It was great. It was awesome. But
Let's get to this other call in here right now. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Hey, this is Cynthia.
Hey, Cynthia, how are you doing?
I am great. I hear that Mark Pirtle has some congratulations coming to him.
You heard right.
What's up with that?
Well, he's finally getting an award. What are we doing? What are we doing on our? What is that all about? Yeah, he is.
There he is.
He's in the booth right now, so feel free to give him your congrats.
Congrats, Mark.
Thanks,
This is
Cynthia.
I want everybody to know that you are the backbone of Reasonable Doubt. You were there back when I was there before time began, and always been the one to do such a great job, and it's even better now than it ever has been, and we really appreciate all the hard work that you have done.
Thank y'all. Cynthia,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this. You guys have saved Access over the years. I don't know if I ever told you this, but y'all did. So thanks.
Well, I love that, and I cannot wait to see you at the banquet, Mark.
and we cannot wait to see you back on the show, Cynthia.
I know.
Well, have me back on.
Hey,
We will.
coming.
We will. Thanks for the call, Cynthia.
Okay, see you guys.
Have a good night. Yeah. What were we gonna say?
So going back, There,
got some more- you got
it
some more
doesn't.
throwing paper
Right. That happened in the Jefferson County Courthouse in Beaumont. It was awesome. Can you imagine? You got this Mexican dude with this other guy throwing papers across.
How was Daniel's hair then?
Oh, it was
Long?
yes, it was awesome. Anyways, so going back, so if you're dialing to make a phone call, you're operating within the bounds of the law. There's another exception that if you are using your phone in connection with a hands-free device, so like your hands-free link on your vehicle, your Bluetooth to your screen, that is acceptable also. However, we all know on those panels you can text and do things on there too. And so how is the officer going to distinguish that also? I don't know.
Is it going to be a pull over and ask questions later scenario?
I think it's going to be a pull over. I saw you texting and driving. No, you didn't. Oh, you smell like alcohol, or I smell weed. You need to step out of the car.
Yeah.
Scenario. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be very difficult to enforce. It's going to be a revenue generator, in my opinion, especially in a lot of small towns. You know, that's what I think. We got another call coming in. They're rolling tonight, man. Mark, you are generating the phone calls. Let's put it in here. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Hey everybody, it's Todd DuPont.
What's up, man?
DuPont.
First of all, how y'all doing?
Good.
Good, that's cool. I wanted to congratulate Mark Purtle on his award.
Where's he at? There he is.
Mark, congratulations, brother. We ran that show probably 8 years, it seems like, somewhere in there, through a number of different co-hosts. But Mark, I wanted to thank you personally on air for all the work you've done for HCCLA, and y'all continuing the show.
Thanks, Todd.
Of course. Of course, you're going to be getting an award, so you're going to have to go to the banquet.
Hey, Todd, let me ask you, man.
Yeah.
You got a favorite memory here with Mark on the show?
Well, it seems like the best interview I had was Anthony Graves. Really hands down. It was an hour where you almost didn't breathe.
Wow.
Listening to the man tell his story. That to me is going to be a highlight that I'll never forget. That interview. We interviewed Malcolm. Not Malcolm. I'm talking about Quanell X.
I was going to be
He was
impressed
an
if you actually if you interviewed Malcolm X.
Well, yeah, no. and interestingly, I haven't had anything to drink today.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, if you took the show back in the DeLorean, that would have been pretty cool.
Right. Quanell was a good guest. He brought a bunch of people with him. He had these bodyguards and people all around. Was very cryptic on the things and the way he spoke, but it was a very interesting. Mark, do you remember that show?
I do.
Yeah. I think by and large, though, Anthony Graves was the best that I think I did. But I mean, each and every week we'd have somebody new, and typically, and you just learn to let people speak, you know.
Well, let me ask,
Anyways.
while we're here, what do you think about the new texting and driving bill? You think there's problems with it? You like it? What are your just gut
Well,
thoughts?
I heard, as I was on hold, I heard you guys speaking. I'm not watching the show here. I'm at the house, but I kind of mimic and like your ideas about it. Just another reason to stop somebody, to perhaps even a pretext stop. We don't need legislation like this. You can squarely fit that into reckless operation of a motor vehicle, reckless driving, anything else like that. It's like, look, unfortunately, bad things happen to people that are texting and driving.
Yeah.
But I always make it akin to after Columbine shooting, where, something tragic happens. One of the knee-jerk reactions is to run to Congress and let's pass some more laws. But when you stop to think about it, I believe it was estimated that at least 22 different state and federal laws were violated by the shooters at Columbine. What would be the point to add a new law to the books?
Right. It's
I've always held
typical
that view
overcriminalization.
Right. I've always held that view. I kind of have the same feeling about this texting and driving. It's redundant. I mean, can you imagine a legislative session where they simply refuse to pass any new criminal laws? That would never happen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
They wouldn't get reelected.
Right. And so now they're putting phony bills in there.
Yeah, we're going to talk. That's a great segue. Thanks for the call.
Look, I'll let y'all go.
Thanks for the call,
I didn't mean to
Todd.
talk this long.
Appreciate-
I did want to say, Mark, again, thank you for everything you've done for HCCLA. It's not been lost on our group, okay?
Appreciate the call, Todd.
All right, y'all have a good evening.
All right, you too. Yeah, as Todd said, now they're making up stuff. And for those of you who remember Seinfeld and the contest episode, the state rep, what's her name? Jessica Farrar.
She's from Houston.
North side of Houston.
Yeah, Jessica Farrar.
Jessica, if you'd like to come on the show, Honorable Jessica Farrar, come.
Yeah, she wants to eliminate people becoming.
No pun intended. No pun. That was hilarious, man. Come on the show.
Yeah.
Not like that though. That was funny. That was real funny.
Yes, she wants to make it a crime for people to be master of their own domain. It is, I mean, I get it, but I get the whole purpose of it, but this is just, I mean, to me, kind of a ridiculous use of our time at the legislature.
What says you, Vic?
Well, yes, it's ridiculous. On its face, it's ridiculous to say that men cannot masturbate, and if they do, they have to pay a $100 fine.
Right.
It's ridiculous. But I think the broader point needs to be made that it's about criminalization, over legislation of women's rights, women's health issues that don't need to be decided in Austin and Washington, D.C. by a bunch of men. I think this is squarely a women's rights issue that the three of us really don't have any business getting involved in.
I'll say, when I first heard the bill, I knew it was like a troll bill, and it was for fun. And I initially said, "That's hilarious. That's funny." But come on, we have better things in the legislature to be talking about. However, after I started reading the article and they compared it to some of the other bills that are being placed out there, in all seriousness, I thought to myself, wow, there has to be times in that legislature, in our own legislature, where bills are being introduced with all this is a spoof bill, but there's, in my opinion, there are bills that are being presented that are just as crazy.
Yeah.
But
actually they're legitimate.
Yeah, they're like
the person actually really wants to see.
But what's the difference? What's the difference between those bills?
And that's what made me stop and think.
What's the difference?
Oh wow! Like this is actually serious. Like this,
Right.
The statement is making. Wow! It might go beyond me just being a man and my short-sightedness. I'd be paying $900 a day or something on this. Don't clip that. We're not going to clip that.
It's unlikely you have 3 children.
Yeah, well, every now and then it gets, anyways. But it made it, when it was comparing the procedures, before you were to have a vasectomy or a colonoscopy, or you'd have to have a completely useless procedure done at a 24-hour waiting period. And they likened it to some of the stuff that with women's rights that are going on, that, wow, like, that in this, they're not apples to oranges. Like it's
But think about
kind of
this,
in
if
the
a
same
woman
realm.
wants to have an abortion, some legislation says that she has to have a 24-hour waiting period. She needs parental or spousal consent. How is that any different than a man getting a vasectomy? Does he need his parents' consent? Does he need his wife's consent? Does he need a 24-hour cooling off period?
Well, flatly, your first gut reaction is absolutely not, because it's our body.
Right.
And that's when the light goes on and says, oh, wow.
Oh, wait, it's her body. It's her decision, not the three of us, not the 3 fellas here.
Well, and let me play devil's advocate because we are advocates. There's another bill that was introduced that it was introduced in all seriousness that anybody who has an abortion or anybody who helps someone have an abortion gets charged with murder.
Yeah.
Murder.
Yeah.
Okay, well, doesn't that unborn child, shouldn't that be protected just the same? That's how I play devil's advocate here.
Look, I think the big thing is, for me, she admitted to filing a satirical bill. I understand the point, like I said, but isn't there a better way to do that, in my opinion, rather than admittedly filing a satirical bill and actually having people vote on it? So I don't know. We can debate this all day long.
I don't think the bill's ever going to pass, but
No,
we've been having this debate since the 60s with
Absolutely.
Roe v. Wade.
Absolutely.
And we don't have an answer.
No, we don't.
The debate rages on.
It does, but this doesn't help. Because
I think it brings awareness.
I wonder.
I don't think it does, though. I don't think it does because what it does, honestly, if you are an advocate for women's rights, this does not help you.
It
makes you look, like you're not serious about things, and you're not willing to actually seriously engage in a debate and seriously do stuff. You're just going to take the flippant satirical route. And so I think it diminishes their credibility. I understand what her point is, but I think it diminishes her credibility when she goes to the Texas legislature and does stuff like that. I really do. And I'm not, look, I'm not one of those that's advocating against her stance, okay? But you diminish your argument when you do silly stuff like that.
But that debate's been going on for more than 50 years.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But still,
I think I disagree.
You hurt
Respectfully
your credibility
disagree.
when you do stuff like that, I think. So I know we got another call coming in. They're banging on the window at me. So let's take another call. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Hi, this is Twee.
Twee, you won't come on the show, but you'll call in the show.
Well, I had to call in the show because I heard Mark Purtle was nominated and won a long overdue award for all his hard work on the show and his commitment to our organization. I just wanted to say, congratulations, Mark. We should have given you this award a long time ago, and our show owes so much to you. So thank you for all the hard work that you put into the show.
Twee, thanks for bringing it back.
Well, I didn't do much. It was all those guys who come every week, and now Victoria's part of the group. So, if you weren't there day in and day out for the last 20-something years, the show would not be as fantastic as it is.
I'm just happy that Justin finally picked up the phone on you, Twee.
I know.
I
Go
ahead.
No, and we're still waiting for you to take the seat sometime.
Right.
Well, you guys are doing such a great job that I don't think anybody would ever be able to replace the charisma, the chemistry of the group.
All right.
I mean, look, Vic is looking for a partner here to
Come on, Twee.
join him
Come on, Twee.
in Thursday night, foils. So I think you're the perfect candidate.
Well, everybody, Victoria, you look fantastic on screen. Mark, you look fantastic. Justin looks fantastic. It's a great shot. So everything looks very beautiful.
Well, thanks, Twee. We appreciate the call, and have a good rest of your evening.
You too. Oh, and by the way, I was listening to your discussion about the bill, and I throw my opinion in there. I do not think the bill hurts anybody's credibility. I think it is fantastic that she filed this bill, because sometimes when you read some of the bills that are filed in the Texas legislature, it reads like satire. And for her to file this, it's gotten tremendous traction in national media, in local media, and it really brings to light how silly a lot of those other quote-unquote medical bills that are helping for women's health, just how silly those bills are. So I think it's a fantastic move on her part, and I'm really glad we're having this discussion, regardless of which side you're on.
Appreciate your opinion. This is why we need you on, Twee. This is why we need you on.
Have a good night, guys.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Moving on. Are we clear?
No.
We still have two more? Okay. Let's jump on. Let's take another call here. We're lining them up and taking them in. Hello. Thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Congratulations, Mark. I guess I should make it unanimous. And one other thing, or two things. Have you guys seen ICE active in the municipal and the county jail, and how active are they? And has it decreased or increased at all within the last month or so? And number two, how will pretrial services and community supervision handle all of the increased workload? And I don't know if you're privy to this or not, that that will result as that will come as a result of the court system, the misdemeanor court system being modified and people let out by personal bonds.
Sure.
How's it going to work?
Yeah, great questions. That was actually going to be the next topic we were going to move to, was ICE sweeping the courthouses here. And so this guy must have read my mind. He had my outline.
Who is identify? Who are? Do we know you? Or are you just a fan, a viewer? Oh,
Gone.
either way, it's great
All right.
questions.
Great questions. First, let's because I was going to move into the ICE agents first, so let's talk about that. So we've seen it here in Harris County, ICE agents coming around in the courthouse, rounding up people. In fact, what is happening, which is interesting, I believe, is they are going around, they are looking specifically for people who have pled guilty on carrying weapon cases. And they are then either pled guilty or have a carrying a weapon charge pending. And those seem to be the ones that not only are they gunning for those people, but they're bringing federal indictments and then transferring the people over to federal custody for alien possession of firearm charges. It's getting real out there, folks, to say the least. Now, is that the best use of resources? I'm not 100% sure that it is, that we're going to be rounding up people who are sitting in the county jails and filing alien in possession of firearm cases and shipping them over to federal custody, which, as I was having the debate today, there's a provision on typical illegal reentry cases where you get a fast track, so the case moves along and it's processed. And these are not eligible for fast track. So
Really?
yes. So now, whether or not they make these kind of cases eligible for fast track is going to be interesting, because they're going to get a lot of them at the rate they're going.
So, can you shed some light on the law with alien possession of a weapon? So, it's my understanding that, and I didn't know this, but through my research, because I've heard the same thing,
Yeah.
that essentially, if there are limits to, and fair, right or wrong or whatever it is, but if you are not a citizen, you can't have a gun.
Correct.
Wow. And you're facing the same thing as a felon in possession of a weapon
Correct.
would have.
Correct. And so the interesting thing from a state court perspective is that if you are a lawyer and your client pleads to an unlawful carrying a weapon case, you have just made the Fed's case for them. Because people will say, well, how can that happen? There's double jeopardy. No, dual sovereign rule says you can be convicted of unlawful carrying a weapon in state court, and then the Feds can come round you up and they can charge you with alien in possession of a firearm or felon in possession of a firearm. It's a dual sovereign issue. There is no double jeopardy between state and Fed. They can charge you for the same facts, state offense and a federal offense.
And we're talking about a misdemeanor. The state offense, unlawfully carrying a weapon, as a misdemeanor.
That's right.
Then becoming a federal felony.
That's right. Absolutely.
Crazy.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow, what have you all seen and what have you heard as far as agents around?
JV, I haven't seen it, but I've heard from several different people that at the Pasadena Municipal Court, there were ICE agents there in the last couple of weeks arresting people, and they were talking about traffic tickets. Folks there on traffic tickets. And I was told this week, I had a client who is not a citizen, who is a lawful permanent resident, who's charged with DWI in one of the outlying counties, not Harris County, one of the outlying counties. And he was called in to go back to pretrial services for extra screening. He got away. I mean, not necessarily got away, but he wasn't detained. But at the same time that was going on, I was told by several other lawyers that a man who was set for trial on a felony gun case was taken into custody by plainclothes ICE agents.
I heard that it's happening in the Fort Bend County Courthouse.
It was in Fort Bend.
I've heard it's happened in San Antonio or in Bexar County. I've heard that it's happening, I want to say Hays. And I have heard that they're trolling the Harris County Courthouse.
No, they absolutely are. I mean, I got a call on a case that was a alien in possession of a firearm that they had basically filed on the guy as he was sitting in the Harris County Jail awaiting a charge on unlawful carrying a weapon case.
Have you heard of any courts or any officials taking action when they have illegals on the I hate that, or undocumented or non-citizen individuals on the docket?
I didn't see it personally, but I was told that one of the courts in Harris County was calling ICE when there were people that were undocumented on the docket. They were calling ICE saying, hey, we've got so-and-so on the docket. He's undocumented.
I think there's a provision under our laws of Texas that if an individual is convicted for a felony or for certain types of offenses, that the judge shall notify Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement of the conviction and that they are here illegally. I hear that's a law on the books. I've actually seen it and read it, so I know it is. But I'd like to bring up two distinctions. The first one is that applies to individuals who have been convicted, so after someone has pled, which calls into question the whole series of questions regarding probation, whether or not more judges are going to start to say no to individuals who are non-citizens for probation offers and probation pleas. But secondly, in order to determine if someone is here illegally, it requires an in-depth conversation and interview and counsel with the person, because illegal doesn't necessarily mean they entered the country illegally, because the illegal entry cases, if they're, from what I understand, if they're waved through or if they happen to make it through a checkpoint just by happenstance, that's not necessarily an illegal reentry, A, but also B.
I think federal prosecutors will probably disagree with you on that.
Right, I don't do enough, but I think there are distinctions that before you call someone illegal, there are distinctions as to how they got here, their alienage, how they came here, who their family is, whether or not other people in their family have become citizens and therefore they have through some other way. And the idea that you can just say, are you a citizen or not a citizen, just because you're not a citizen doesn't necessarily mean you're illegal. And so I think it brings up a whole host of problems.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like a bad use of resources to me. I mean, we got this second travel ban now that's been struck down by the judge in Hawaii. I mean, it's just like, what are we utilizing our resources on at this point?
Do you know what the judge in Hawaii said? I didn't look at I think it's like a 48-page opinion. I didn't read it, but.
I mean, I'm surprised you didn't have time to sit down and read it before we went on air.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance. But I thought it was something to the effect of, it's still bad. I think it still has a smell of excluding individuals based on race.
Yeah, they still basically
and religion.
said
Religion.
yeah,
Pardon me, not race.
It's still effectively a Muslim ban, is what the Cliff Notes version of the 48 pages is. Effectively, it's still a Muslim ban. So we got another call coming in. Let's jump over the phone lines. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Hey guys, it's Justin.
Hey man.
Okay, so I got three things to say. Well, I guess we'll start with congrats, Mark. I already told him in the booth, but thanks for everybody calling in and adding to that chorus of congratulations. It's much deserved, as everybody said. Okay, so going back to your topic about cell phones and how do cops have the go-go gadget eyes? It's actually illegal for commercial truck drivers to use a cell phone at all.
Right.
To make a phone call, to send a text message, even for navigation.
Well, it's also illegal to use a phone in a school zone, period.
Yes.
Or people under the age of 18.
Yeah. But there's one exception with truck drivers. And this won't be an issue for texting, because you wouldn't do this, but I had a trial set in municipal court for a truck driver, and we showed up on the day of trial. Cop was there. He was charged with using his cell phone. We had our defense ready to go. I didn't say anything to the prosecutor. The cop shows up, and the prosecutor takes the cop's side, and he starts chewing him out. He says, how do you know he wasn't making an emergency phone call? That's the one exception. That's the one defense to when a truck driver can use his cell phone is if they're making an emergency call.
The bill does have exceptions. The bill does have an exception for making an emergency phone call.
Yeah, so that's going to be a tricky thing for people who are defending these cases the cop has to be able to say, I know they weren't making an emergency phone call. That's topic number one. Topic number two is the not nocturnal emissions, but Jessica Farrar's emissions bill. So there's one other side to this, Jimmy, and I understand your point that it's frivolous, but it established when the legislature votes that bill down, but votes up all the ones that affect women's reproductive health, then they're going to be able to use those votes to show legislative intent.
I don't disagree with you on that.
The bill. So there is a little bit of seriousness to it. And then the only other thing that I wanted to add was, what was that?
I said I don't disagree with you on what their point is, but how are you going to show what legislative intent truly was when they're voting down an admittedly satirical bill? That's my problem with it. When you admit it's a satirical bill, you kill what your legislative intent was that you were trying to show.
But she called it a satirical bill, not a joke, right? Satire has political points behind it, right? You know, I understand that maybe that wasn't her best thing to say. Let other people say that. Let us all assume that and think that. But there's political speech behind satire all the time, so it could still get there. I had something else, so I'm taking up too much time. I got to go back in the booth. Good show. Congrats again to Mark. All right. See you on a little bit.
All right, man. We got another call right behind him here, so let's take that one. Hello. Thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Hey, guy, Dave Ryan. They're giving out wrong information on immigrants.
Who is?
They are. It is.
Hey, man. We got another call right behind him here. So
You need to turn down your TV for me.
Hey, guys, Dave Ryan. They're giving out wrong information on immigrants.
You there, caller?
Is it David Ryan?
That's what I heard he said.
Yes. You guys, it is perfectly legal for a lawful permanent resident to possess a firearm. Okay, not every immigrant is not allowed to possess a firearm.
Okay. What are the so what are the limitations on it? Because I know
we weren't talking about that. We were talking about if you're here illegally, because the charge is.
No, but that's not the information you gave out, Jimmy. You guys said that if someone is an alien, that they did not have a right to have any firearm. That's not correct. A lawful permanent resident may have firearms perfectly legally. Anyone who is not a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen may not possess a firearm, whether they got here legally or illegally. If you're on an H-1B visa or a student visa or a tourist visa, you cannot possess a firearm. If you overstayed your visa, you cannot possess a firearm. If you came without papers, you cannot possess a firearm. A lawful permanent resident and a U.S. citizen may possess firearms.
Well, I apologize if there's confusion. I was talking about in the context of the federal charge of illegal alien in possession of a firearm is what I was talking about. So I appreciate you clearing that up, though.
No, yeah, and because I didn't know if it was all aliens, and apparently it is everyone other than, I guess, a legal permanent resident, LPR. Is that right?
Correct. An LPR or a green card holder may possess a firearm.
That's wild. I mean, what's your take on all this? Have you heard of any sort of ICE agents trolling the courthouse or any of the?
Oh yes. In fact, in El Paso, they came up and were picking up women who were seeking protective orders on family violence cases.
Wow. Jeez. How do you have any ideas or comments on how you believe this could affect cases, prosecution of cases? I mean, do you see anything that could cause? Do you think this will cause individuals not showing up to court, whether you're a defendant or complaining witness or anything like that?
Or reporting of crimes.
Absolutely, it's going to happen both with the prosecution and with the defense. You're going to have people whose immigration status is iffy who are going to refuse to show up to testify, maybe even refuse to report crimes because they're concerned about being picked up. I believe there have been examples of that happening in Colorado and in California where complaining witnesses were picked up by ICE. You're going to have situations where we're going to have defendants who are going to bond out and run, never show up for court, which is going to bog down the system as we're trying to chase down these folks. It's going to be a real problem for the criminal justice system.
David, I want to get your take real quick on, there was an issue that came up about bonding companies taking fees from illegal aliens on cases. And there was a situation, I think, that I heard, and I don't know if you know this, so I wanted to get some clarification on it. But have you heard anything about bonding companies trying to take advantage of people in this situation?
That's been going on for years. It's not unique to the new enforcement provisions. There are some very ethical bonding companies that, when they find out there's an ICE hold, will not take the money, will not post the bond. Unless, then there are some that, again, because they're ethical, they'll say, hey, make sure that there's an immigration lawyer so that way you can get a bond from the immigration judge, immigration court, so they can actually get out. There are, and I've heard the stories and filed complaints about bonding companies that will take money, and they're the ones who actually call ICE. So they take the money, they've got 100% security because the guy never gets out. There are people there are bondsmen that will take the money, knowing that there's an ICE hold on it, and not say anything to anyone and say, hey, look, we did our job. It's not our fault. That's up to you to go do something. We're not lawyers. We can't advise you.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the call, David. Appreciate you getting in on the show.
Yep. Congratulations again to Mark.
When you coming back?
That will depend on me having another Thursday night off, guys.
We got a fresh seat for you.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
What about this sticky situation? What if you've got a unscrupulous, unethical prosecutor that can't make their case but knows they've got an illegal alien? What if they think, I can't prove my felony, but I got ICE on the phone?
I see that happening. I can see that happening.
It scares me.
It scares the heck out of me. I had a client today, undocumented. The bond was, let's just make it up, $2,000, but the bonding company charged him $4,000. And he paid it and is making payments on it. And he showed me, he's like, dude, this bonding company keeps threatening me that they're going to yank my bond, and I have this bonding paperwork, and I checked it out. His bond is $2,000. This bonding company charged him $4,000 because of his risk, right? And this guy has kids here, family here, and I said, let's deal with your case, and then we're going to handle this bonding company.
Yeah, no joke. We only got about 30 seconds left, Vic.
Flew by.
It did.
Always does.
We got this great topic about what it means to win. And we need to...
We're going to have to expound upon it another time.
We'll do it another time.
You're going to have to, we'll have to get you back on.
I think I can.
Can you make time for us?
I would love to.
I mean, you haven't made time for us here in the last month.
It's been real hard. I'll have my people call your people.
No, great ratings here. Great ratings.
Call our booking office.
That's JV, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's all the time we have for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you joining the program and everybody who called in to wish Mark Pirtle congratulations on his award. We appreciate you as well. For Vic Vidge and Julio Vela, I'm Jimmy Ardwan. Good night, everybody.